about trades since the season is almost coming to wraps. We are almost done with the second round of the NBA playoffs. There are a lot of teams in the NBA who have a lot of big thinking to do in this upcoming off season when it comes to trading. Yes, trading away players. We are going to be talking about some of the biggest trade pieces that each team has to offer in order to improve their team, whether they're an on the cusp up and coming team that just needs a little extra oomph to make a big impact, or a already established championship contender, or maybe just a young team looking for more raw young talent. We are going to discuss that. But before we get into that in more detail, make sure you obviously like the video. Yes, you watching right now, make sure you make sure you like the video if you do like the video, or even if you just want to contribute to the channel somehow, or obviously subscribe as well. We are doing a giveaway at 7.5k subscribers. Yes, very exciting. A bigger giveaway than I did my last time I did a giveaway. So it should be very nice and very fun. And yeah, I guess that's all I need to say. Make sure you check out yesterday's video where I played MLB The Show 21. It was a lot of fun. Very interesting game. It was my first time ever playing the game. It should be kind of funny to watch, but yeah, I guess we can finally get started with tonight's video. Okay, so basically in this video we're going to be talking about every team's best and maybe even most valuable, maybe not even most valuable, but definitely a trade piece that every team has to offer in order to improve their team in some way, shape, or form. Again, like they are a nice young talent, or they're a sort of young team that needs a little bit more veteran leadership, or they're an already established championship contender that just needs more. But yeah, it should be kind of fun. There's going to be somewhere, yes, this is a Bleacher Report, obviously, and I'm also going to be giving my own input on some of the things if I disagree, agree, players that should be traded. Make sure you comment down below, maybe some tradable players that you expect to happen in this offseason. I know there's some big-time names in this offseason. Could be very crazy for a lot of different teams blowing it up or keeping it the same. I guess we're just going to have to see. So, obviously in alphabetical order. With the first team we have here are the very popular Atlanta Hawks, who are doing pretty well right now against the 76ers. I do say so myself. I think as of right now, the series is tied 1-1, but I do think they play tonight as you're watching this video. But for them, it says here that a tradable asset that they have is Onyeka Okongwu, yes. The rookie they just drafted last season, and I find this very interesting because obviously this past offseason, I don't think anyone really saw Atlanta being, a crazy playoff team like they are right now. Like they're a second round team that's, going, blow to blow with the 1 seed in the entire Eastern Conference. And I don't think, at least for me, honestly that third player, now that obviously, Kemba Walker is probably gonna be out. He's probably gonna get traded, which it's funny they don't list Kemba Walker as being their most valuable asset because as of right now, Kemba Walker he's starting to look like he might be a buyout player. As of right now, he might not even make the team next year at all. So, I don't agree with this at all. I would hate for them to trade Marcus Smart unless it involves some like big time crazy trade, like if they get like a Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum or a Bradley Beal. If you have to put Marcus Smart in that position in order to get a player like that, then that makes a lot of sense. But if you're just trading away Marcus Smart for another X player, I don't think that's really worth it. At least in my opinion, I don't really agree with that. For the Brooklyn Nets, you have Nicholas Claxton, which, yeah, I mean, he definitely is a young center. I think they will probably keep him around because he will be on a cheap contract, which obviously in a cheap contract for a championship caliber team, that's very important. And also, he's actually a pretty good defensive center. Now, obviously, I would have rather had them kept Jared Allen, but I guess he wasn't in their sort of future plans, I guess. But, man, I don't know about that. Obviously, there is Spencer Dinwiddie, which, obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie right now is a restricted free agent. I think he has a player option, which I think everyone knows he's probably going to decline and then go and become a free agent this offseason. But if he does stay on the team, he gets traded somewhere, then he's definitely their most valuable tradable asset. Even I guess they could keep Dinwiddie around being the backup point guard, but man, I don't know how much playing time Dinwiddie would get when you already have, Harden and Kyrie Irving. You're gonna get like 10 minutes a night if you stay on that team. So I guess I can just if you're a championship caliber team, you need championship caliber players. You need some veteran leadership. You got to go after that type of position, I think. Oh my god. Okay, whoever wrote this article might be on one. Because for the Charlotte Hornets, they have you listed as Miles Bridges as their best tradable asset. I 1000% disagree with this. I think Miles Bridges might be an untouchable maybe in this offseason. I think Bridges, Ball, those guys are a tandem. As of right now, they click very well. They play together very well. And honestly, if you have your best player on your team who clicks well with another player, I doubt that player is going to get traded at all. As of right now, Bridges and Ball play very well together, and Bridges looks like he could be a very good upside player who can average, give or take 20 points per game. It looks like he's a very capable defender. He obviously blows the roof off the place whenever he gets the ball and dunks, and he's a pretty decent three-point shooter as well. I don't think he's the best tradable asset for that team. I don't even know who really is. Well, probably Terry Rozier. Obviously with Lonzo Ball. If you can trade Terry Rozier for like a true two guard, that would make a lot of sense because I think right now they play them at the same time, Lonzo Ball and Terry Rozier. I think I'd rather see a bigger guard play alongside LaMelo Ball. So if you could trade Terry, I think that might be the best asset. For the Chicago Bulls, they have Kobe White. 100% agree. I think Kobe White isn't the point guard you want alongside a player like Zach LaVine. Kobe White is a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the pass-first point guard who the Bulls need. He's definitely a good scoring guard, that's for sure. He can be definitely a good two guard, even in today's NBA, but I think they're looking for more of a facilitating role for that position. Because also they have Zach LaVine, they have Vucevic. I think they have enough scoring on their team. They need a little bit more, of the other sort of things like facilitating and defense. So Kobe White's not going to really give you that. So again, they're really looking for Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball fits that perfectly. So if you could trade up straight up Kobe White for Lonzo sort of ball handling, scoring option. Now, Tim Hardaway Jr. did a pretty good job in the playoffs, but he's more of a spot up, pass out of a shot type of player. He's not gonna, get the ball at the top of the key and go to work and get a bucket. He's not that type of player. I think they desperately they need that type of player. They can get that from like a CJ McCollum trade for Kristaps, or if they can somehow pull off like a Bradley Beal trade, which I don't think will happen, but it's possible, I guess. There's some players out there who could really help out with Luka Doncic, being another sort of formidable two option, but also being a good scoring facilitator. There's some players out there who I can see fitting very well with Dallas. Obviously with Luka, anyone would play good. With Luka, I would look good playing next to Luka. Denver Nuggets, they have Will Barton, and I mean, I could see this happening, but I think Will Barton's he has a player option, I think, kind of like Charles Spencer Dinwiddie is for the Nets, and that does make a lot of sense because Will Barton it seems like a very injury-prone player, which really sucks to see. I actually don't think Denver needs to do anything at all this next coming offseason. Obviously, just health is the big thing, because obviously, they made it to the second round 1 year and then lost to Game 7 to Portland. They made it to a conference finals. They made it to, right now they're in the second round again with even out having their second go-to guy and their starting two guard in Will Barton. So, I don't think they really need to do anything in order to just be ready and prepared and healthy by the time the postseason comes. So, I mean, if they want to trade Will Barton, sure, I guess. He's a really good defender. He's a good three-point shooter. I don't really see why they would really need to trade Will Barton. For Detroit, kind of like the Cleveland situation, they have Jeremy Grant, which, again, their best player. I mean, I only really see this happening if they trade Jeremy Grant for like another, like, younger player. So, I don't know, I don't even think there's any like disgruntled young stars in today's NBA that I can think of. Because obviously in Detroit you're looking to rebuild, and obviously you have Killian Hayes and this upcoming draft to really look forward to get another really good young player to sort of build and restart your rebuild with. Jeremy Grant is not going to be a part of that, I don't think. So if you could trade Jeremy Grant for like a younger player, that makes a lot of sense. But I don't know what you could get out of Jeremy Grant. He doesn't really seem like he can be a go-to guy, but he wants to be that go-to guy, so he's not going to really play that sort of supporting cast role. I don't know, and now he's making like 20 mil a year, so now he's probably overpaid for the Golden State Warriors. Their most tradable asset is obviously the Minnesota pick. If Minnesota's pick, I think, doesn't go top 3, or I think even top 5, I think it goes to Golden State this year. So if you're, a fan of all the other teams about Golden State, you gotta hope that Minnesota gets a top 5 pick this year. And even if they do, say the Warriors get the number 3 pick in this upcoming year's draft, which would be absolutely insane, I highly doubt they would keep it, because again, they already have a young sort of player already in Wiseman. I don't know what word I was looking for. They already have a player who is young, who can be a sort of next go-to talent for the Warriors. If Steph and Clay move on, he can be that next sort of guy that can sort of focus around. They don't need another one of those type of guys, if that makes any sense. They could trade that pick away for, again, a very good playable asset for right now. And obviously in the play-in game, they lost to the Memphis Grizzlies, and it really seemed like in that point in time it was really just the Steph Curry show. And obviously with Clay being back and maybe a revitalized Draymond Green and a healthy Wiseman, maybe you do trade that pick away for a nice sort of next option next to them. Maybe you trade that pick away and Andrew Wiggins for another another small forward, which could be very interesting. Maybe you're trading away for, I don't know, like a Chris Middleton or another type of player like that who can be a very good, solid 3 option, or maybe even a 2 option while Clay sort of gets his legs under him. Then for the Houston Rockets, for theirs, it's again arguably their best player. It's Christian Wood, and man, I would hope that they would keep Christian Wood. But obviously, again, if you're the Houston Rockets, if you can trade Christian Wood away for like a top 10, top 5 pick in the draft, you do it. If you can trade him for draft, you better build through that draft because they're desperately going to need it. And also because they probably would trade Christian Wood if they did eventually get a top 3 pick in this year's draft. They can get a Evan Mobley, who's a really good, already defensive-minded center. And obviously, if you have Christian Wood, you can't really focus on Mobley a whole lot. So if they do draft Mobley, I would see Christian Wood moving on. Yeah, other than that, I don't think they should do it. I think Wood is a good 15 to 20 point per game scorer, good rebounder. He has a lot of hustle in him. Could work a little bit more on defense, but hey, what center can't in today's NBA? You know what I mean? For the Indiana Pacers, they have Miles Turner. Yes, we've heard rumors about Miles Turner for years now, and I think this year might be the year. I think this year they're really going to start focusing on the Sabonis part of their team. I think Sabonis is going to become their focal point entirely now. Obviously, they just got rid of their new head coach. I think, honestly, that Terry Stotts would be a great coach for the Indiana Pacers. I think he's a really good player development coach. Now, obviously, for Portland, he was bad because, you know, he wouldn't expand on just player development. He would just keep doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And that's why I think he would be good for a young, up-and-coming team, kind of like how Indiana is right now. So I think actually Terry Stotts would be very good for Sabonis in that team's sort of revitalization. And I mean, obviously trading away Miles Turner, maybe trading him for more of a space creator or someone who doesn't really clog the lane to let Sabonis really play a really good role for that team, kind of like how Jokic plays for the Nuggets. I think it'd be kind of cool. Then you have the Los Angeles Clippers with Zubac, which I don't know if this would be it. I mean, if they get swept or if they get, gentlemen swept, 4-1 against the Utah Jazz, this might change very quickly to Paul George, because I don't know how happy either of Paul George or the Clippers are going to be happy if they do get out in the second round again, when they should be arguably the best team in the West right now. But, sheesh, man, that's going to be tough. Zubac is a good piece. I hope they do keep him. He's sort of like their defensive big man anchor. I don't really see him being a valuable trade asset, I guess you could say. I think it might actually be Paul George. I think they might look for another sort of scoring option again. If you could trade like a Paul George for like a CJ McCollum player, who is more of a shot creator, one-on-one player. I think they desperately need that for the Clippers, or again like a Bradley Beal. I don't know who else. Jaylen Brown, something like that. Just a sort of a different style of player. I think that'd be really nice to see, because as of right now, from what it seems like, Kawhi and Paul George, in theory and on paper, are really good, but when it comes down to it, they just don't look like they play together well. They usually just either one player has the ball and the other player moves out of the way, or they just don't do anything together, you know what I mean? So for the Lakers, yes, of course, it is Kyle Kuzma, and this one is almost a stamp of approval, 100% going to happen type of trade. Kyle Kuzma, his rookie year, went from looking like he could be almost like an all-star type of player, averaging 15 to 20 points per game his entire career, to now the dude struggles to even score like 9, 10 points in a game. So I can see why the Lakers were thinking ahead, very, very far ahead. The Lakers signing him to a larger contract, so he has a very favorable tradable contract for a player of his same size of contract. I think he's getting paid like 13 to 15 mil. So they could probably find a very good role or even starting caliber player in the trade for Kyle Kuzma. I don't know who would take that. I would hate for my team to trade a good player away for Kyle Kuzma, but it's an asset I think they have, and I think I don't want to say dumb team, but maybe a team who's just willing to take a risk on Kyle Kuzma, to take a risk and maybe trade away a good, valuable piece for him. Whoa, for the Memphis Grizzlies, they have Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't agree with this at all. I don't really want to talk about this one. He is a very good piece for that team. I just think that him and Valanciunas don't play well together, and I think that's the problem. They value the veteran leadership Valanciunas has, but I would rather see Jaren Jackson Jr. be that starting center for that team than the power forward, if that makes any sense. Yikes, could you imagine if they traded Jaren away? I would hate that for sure. I wouldn't even know who else would be their tradable asset. Definitely not Jaren. I think Jaren is a set in stone core player, at least in my opinion. For the Miami Heat, they have Tyler Hero, and I think it came out reported that Tyler Hero is a quote unquote core player for the Miami Heat. So I don't know if that means he's untouchable or anything like that. But I do think obviously if Tyler Hero, can be traded for a good player, I think it will happen. I think when it came down to the James Harden trade that was supposed to happen in Miami, I think it was Miami didn't want to give up Tyler Hero in that trade, which, God, if that's true, I'm sorry, Miami, but God, you guys are stupid. But I think now they see that they definitely need to do something with that team for sure after being swept in the first round. And if that is trading Tyler Hero, an ex-player, and a couple picks for like a Bradley Beal, I think you absolutely have to take the deal, even though maybe you do like the capability of a Tyler Hero. No offense, but Tyler Hero's peak is like a 6th man of the year, and maybe even a solid start in today's NBA. If you can trade that for an all-star, you absolutely have to do it. Tyler Hero, in my opinion, no offense, will probably never be an all-star. I think he's a great 6th man. I think that's his perfect role, almost like a Manu Ginobili type of player. But I think if you have to trade Tyler Hero for a good player, you gotta do it, no doubt. For the Milwaukee Bucks, you have Dante DiVincenzo, and I think, yes, that's a great one. He did get hurt, and he's out for the rest of the year, which really sucks. But again, a team with championship aspirations, you need championship quality players. Dante DiVincenzo is still a very young player. I think he only got drafted like 3-4 years ago. So he is, in his sort of mid-tier of years in the NBA. He's not a veteran, but he's not sort of young anymore. He probably is at his peak right now. I don't think he could get any better. He's a good player. He's a solid player. But if you're looking for a, championship quality, two guard in today's NBA, I think you might need to look somewhere else. And I think that's what they're gonna do. Will they trade him? Probably not. I don't think they'll find anything exponentially better than Dante DiVincenzo that they're looking for. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they have Malik Beasley, which is very interesting because I think Beasley is a undersized two guard, which I don't know how valuable that is right now in today's NBA, but he definitely has a tradable contract. He definitely has, good scoring ability, so maybe that is their best tradable asset. I think for sure Culver is another option. I think Culver's not really the small forward that they're looking for, or even Karl-Anthony Towns. I know Karl-Anthony Towns has been in a plethora of trade rumors, obviously with Portland. Who else was in it? I don't remember. A bunch of teams were like, apparently Karl-Anthony Towns is like available for trade offers, which is super funny, but I don't see that happening. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is definitely staying on the team, especially since they just traded away players to get Karl-Anthony Towns' best friend, D'Angelo Russell, on that team. I don't really see them trying to make that trade now, and also especially because it seems like it's reported or rumored that they might be moving the Timberwolves to a different city, whether that's Las Vegas or Seattle or something like that. I think they want to keep an established star on their team if they do move, because it will obviously bring, butts in the seats. They obviously have a good team. So the New Orleans Pelicans, they have Brandon Ingram, and I low-key agree with this because, as you saw last season, Zion he's a force to be reckoned with, and I love the pairing of Lonzo and Zion Williamson. I think that's a good duo. Obviously with the development more of Lonzo, but I think this year Lonzo started to become more of the player we can all see him to be. And I don't know if Ingram has a spot on that team because of just how ball dominant Ingram needs to be. Not in a bad way. I think Ingram can be alongside Zion, and whether that's more of like a spot up shooter type of player or something like that, then maybe that makes more sense. I mean, if you could trade, like, again, I keep bringing Portland into this, but Portland is the only sort of team I can think about that is really trying to move pieces. If you could trade Ingram for like a Lillard or maybe even a McCollum and some bigs and players, I think that'd be really nice. Or if you can trade Ingram for a Paul George, who's maybe a better three-point shooter, something like that. I think if you're really trying to, create space, create a lot of room for Zion to go to work and be that sort of crazy 60% field goal percentage type of guy, you do need, I think, to look in a different direction from Brandon Ingram. Is more of like a mid-range sort of Kevin Durant type of player who's gonna take the ball at the top of the key, do his little dribble moves, trying to make a pull-up jumper. For the New York Knicks, they have R.J. Barrett, and I don't like this. I think they really need to keep that team together. I don't think anyone on their team, well, maybe besides Derrick Rose, I think actually Derrick Rose would be their most tradable asset. I don't like the fact that they're thinking about, blowing up their team to try to get a superstar player this year. I think they should wait and 1000% build through free agency in the next year or two, even though they're not going to get like a crazy player like Kawhi or Luka in the next couple years, but maybe the next 2-3 years, maybe you can get that. I mean, look what Brooklyn did. Brooklyn established really good players and a winning culture, and then they obviously brought in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, James Harden. They did that by themselves. I hope they sort of follow that same sort of format and not just blow up their team to get one good player and then that team sucks again all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have NA for not available. I think maybe like Al Horford might be their most tradable asset. I don't even know, because obviously Shea is not going anywhere. I don't even think Dort is going anywhere. Maybe Baisley could be a tradable asset, but I think they are really high on him. I don't think they're going to trade him at all either. For the Orlando Magic, you have Jonathan Isaac, and I actually do agree with this as well, because I think as of right now, even though with the trade of Vucevic being traded to the Chicago Bulls, I think they are still too good of a team to tank. I still think they are. I think even in the weaker East, they'll still be that sort of 9th, 10th competing team where they were pretty much were last year. Maybe they were a 7th, 8th. Now they're a 9th, 10th type of team. So I think Jonathan Isaac has a lot of potential and will still be a very good player if he does stay healthy. Obviously, knock on wood for that. But that is very interesting to see if they would trade him, which I think they would trade him for, again, more draft picks. I think that's very capable. I mean, if they can even, don't be surprised if this year's draft they do trade Jonathan Isaac and maybe their pick to move up to number 1, number 2 to get, a Cade Cunningham. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Then we have the Philadelphia 76ers with Tyrese Maxey, and I do agree with this. I think Maxey, I think Thibault, I think those two guys are going to be very highly valued, and one of them is probably going to get traded for, again, a championship caliber team. You have good young players. You trade the good young players for more developed NBA players, championship caliber players, that is. You can definitely say him, or maybe even you can go with Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is still going to be on the trading block. He doesn't really seem like he's developed at all. I mean, Ben Simmons has been the same player since his rookie year. He's never gotten any better, at least in my opinion. So, again, Portland again. If you can trade Ben Simmons for a Damian Lillard or even a CJ McCollum type of player to play alongside Joel Embiid, I think that's a really good upgrade for the Sixers. They definitely need more space creating, more scoring options. McCollum. I could rant about this for sure, but I already made a Portland Trailblazer team video on their own. If you haven't seen that video and you want to see my thoughts on them, go check out that video. But yeah, I think, like I said, I've been saying this for years. I've been on the trade CJ McCollum train for years, and the only time in literally NBA history that two small ball guard lineups have ever worked is when it was the bad boy Detroit Pistons of Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas. And those two guys were one of the best perimeter defenders at the time in the league. So if you can't bring defense to a small ball guard lineup, what are you doing? So I think you absolutely have to break the tandem up. I made in that video, spoiler alert, some predictions on maybe like a Paul George trade if the Clippers do get swept or get 5 games out of Utah. Maybe the Clippers are looking for a different option, more scoring, more versatility on the offensive end. Maybe they do trade CJ for Paul George, and I think Dame and Paul George would be a good option. I think Kawhi and CJ McCollum would be a very good duo as well. Or if you have to involve CJ in a trade that, again, in theory would bring in like a Karl Anthony Towns, you trade like McCollum and use Nurkic and some picks and yada yada yada, young players like Zach Collins for him. You do that for sure. I think even taking a risk and trading CJ for like a Kristaps Porzingis, I think you absolutely have to trade the players. And Neil O'Shea, our GM, has already came out and said that he's not trading CJ McCollum. So, hey guys, if the Blazers do not trade CJ McCollum at all this year, comment down below what team I should be a fan of, because I will not be a fan of Portland. I will be a Damian Lillard fan for sure, but I think I cannot be a Portland Trailblazer fan if the GM can't make decisions that are right. I can't do it. So for the Sacramento Kings, they have Tyrese Halliburton as their most tradable asset. I'm not even going to comment on this. That is 1,000% wrong. The Kings are a joke of a franchise as of right now. We're not going to talk about that. I don't even know. Maybe Buddy Hield would be their most tradable asset, but even then, that's not even a very valuable asset. But it's definitely not Tyrese Halliburton. For the Spurs, they have their first round pick this year, and I don't like that at all either. I think the Spurs are finally looking to rebuild their franchise, and I think obviously through the draft, that's their best sort of way of doing it. I don't think they need to trade any picks. If anything, they need to trade some more of their players away. And for the Toronto Raptors, they have Pascal Siakam, which, if I'm being honest, no offense to any Raptor fans out there, I think it is time to blow the team up. I think you don't have any assets to build around Siakam, and Siakam can't be a player you build around. So like you're in like a weird sort of like an Indiana Pacers, Portland Trailblazers moratorium where you're not good enough to be good, but you're not bad enough to tank. You're sort of in this weird spot right now, and I think for the Raptors, I think they need to blow it up, and I think trading Siakam might be it for, again, a good young player who can sort of be that sort of type of guy, kind of like with the Orlando Magic with Jonathan Isaac. You trade Siakam for a top 3, maybe even a number 1 overall pick kind of spot. So Utah, they have the 2024 first round pick, which I guess, I mean, Utah is definitely looking good enough to where they can just trade their draft picks away to just get success for right now, and I think they are good enough to do that. I think definitely the worst enemy right now for Utah is age. I think, Bogdanovich and Ingles and Conley and a lot of their players are a little bit on the older side, so, they might need to start looking for trades for those type of guys to get sort of younger, players who can still play good and still be competitive. But I think, Bogdanovich and Ingles, those guys are at their peaks right now. I don't think they'll get any better than what they are right now. So if they don't win a championship this year, which obviously with the Brooklyn Nets on the opposite end of the bracket, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think trading away picks would be their best case scenario. And lastly, for the Washington Wizards, they have here listed as Rui Hachimura. For Hachimura, I think that's good. I think I would like to see him stay. I think he actually played pretty okay in the playoffs this year, and even throughout the entire year. A lot of ups and downs with the Wizards, but I think Hachimura was a pretty good upside for this year. I think for the offseason, it might actually be like Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal, one of the two. I don't think they're going to keep those guys together for the entirety of the entire next season. I think by the trade deadline, one of them is going to be traded, that's for sure. So I think they might be their most tradable asset, and I don't know what they could get back out of them. Obviously, Russell Westbrook's game, no offense, I know there's a bunch of Russell Westbrook fans out there. I love Russell Westbrook myself, but his game it was outdated before, but as of right now, going into next year, it is just such an outdated game. It's gonna be hard to win with a player like Russell Westbrook, and I don't know how valuable he would be in a trade because he's also making like $50 million next season or something crazy like that. So I don't know how easy it is going to be of a movable contract. So maybe you do have to trade Bradley Beal for. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be